Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
I'm Dr. Sky, wishing you and yours the best of a happy new year 2024 as we continue here with the Dr. Sky Experience, proudly on Talk Radio 77 WABC. The crown jewel of radio, as we call it, the iconic Talk Radio WABC, beaming out of New York City, the nation, the world, and I'm sure the cosmos. Hope your holiday season was great, as now we move into the skies. This particular edition, January 2024, as we begin to teach you and show you the many wonderful events that go in our nighttime sky that you can easily see with the naked eye, binoculars, and maybe even a telescope. So let's begin with Earth's nearest neighbor, the moon, as we find out that on January 1st, New Year's Day, the moon is at apogee. That's the farthest point the moon gets during a calendar month. Interestingly enough, we also find out that the Earth is at a position called perihelion. In Earth terms, it means on January 3rd, the Earth is closest to the sun. Go figure if you're in the northern hemisphere and wondering why it's so cold. But now back to the moon. The moon continues to wane and moves on to last quarter on the 4th, rising near midnight and high in our skies as we approach the sunrise time, which is the latest sunrises of the entire year. So if you're getting up and wondering it's around 7:30 in the morning, that night is turning to day, things will change rapidly. We then find out as the moon continues to move on to its new phase on the 11th. Then the moon on the 13th is at perigee. That means the closest the moon is to us during the calendar month of January. Then, looking low into the southwest sky by about the 12th, we find that beautiful waxing crescent moon. Have you ever seen that moon, a thin sliver of moonlight, and then that ghostly image just to the left? What is it? That's called earthshine. That is the reflected light of a nearly full moon onto the lunar surface. This is a particularly beautiful sight and even better enhanced in a pair of binoculars. We find out that the moon then continues to wax. First quarter on the 18th, then the moon, of course, moves on to its first full moon of the entire new calendar year, 2024, as it moves on to the 25th. But then we talk about planets, the Greek word planeteos, the wandering stars in the heavens, and we find out there are few that are visible. Once again in the evening sky, Saturn, an object that's moving away from us, nearly 1 million miles away from your eye, is still visible to the naked eye. How to find it? Look high into the southwest at sunset, as the sun and the planet Saturn have this interesting dance as the sun will encroach, that is, on the planet Saturn later in 2024. But still, in my opinion, the great planet of the evening sky is Jupiter. Easy to see, high up, almost at the sunset point. Yes, in the southern sky, just as the sun goes down, I should say, easy to see with the naked eye, and much better in a telescope or a pair of binoculars. For the morning sky, we find out that the planet Venus and the moon will be exceptionally close on the morning of January the 8th. So if you're an early riser, you can see this beautiful conjunction in our sky, something that you shouldn't miss. And if you're a photographer with simple equipment like that of a smartphone, or even more highly sophisticated telescope cameras, you'll catch a beautiful view of this conjunction of the moon and the planet Venus. And then we find out that the planet Mercury will reach its greatest elongation west of the sun, which means it's visible in the early morning sky. That will happen, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue to move through this particular month of January. That's pretty much it for the major planets in the sky for this particular month. But let's kind of move fast forward, that is, to something that I find quite interesting. If you're listening to this Dr. Sky update on the Dr. Sky Experience during the beginning days of January, more precisely the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, pay attention to an interesting meteor shower that appears during the morning hours of January the 4th. Now, you'll have to look and fight moonlight, but high up into the northeast sky after midnight till dawn as we move into the 4th, an interesting fast meteor shower called the Quadrantids will take place. In some years, the quadrantids produce well over 100 meteors an hour. Meteor showers are very fickle, just like a great comet discoverer talked about comets being very much like cats. And the reason I say that, he said, and I quote, "Comets have tails just like cats, and both do exactly what they want." Interesting enough. So to summarize that, the quadrantid meteor shower high in the northeast sky from midnight to dawn in the early morning hours of January the 4th. You know, folks, it's almost 90-ish days away from the great total solar eclipse that's going to take place here on April the 8th of 2024. I got to get used to saying 2024. But don't forget, we recommend getting our TSE solar glasses for this particular eclipse. These are ISO certified. They are the best in class. And in order to order, just go to the website, TSE for Total Solar Eclipse, the number 17, solareclipse.com. Simply TSE 17, solareclipse.com. And if you put in the order bar, just DRSKY, you'll get a 10% discount on your order. And we seriously say this, don't wait, because so many people wait till the last minute to get these solar glasses. You know, they're relatively inexpensive, seriously, but there is so much a necessity when you want to watch the eclipse. And we'll be talking a lot about the great total solar eclipse of April the 8th, 2024. So many things happening in our skies, but let's talk briefly about some of the important events other than that total solar eclipse in April, which, by the way, is visible across a good portion of the United States and high up into the Northeast states, where we are here at Talk Radio 77 WABC. But since we're a radio station that beams itself out across the nation, the world, and even in the cosmos, you should be prepared for that once-in-a-lifetime event. If you miss this one and do not want to travel, the next major total solar eclipse will not happen here in the United States until August of 2045. So I think you get my message if you're obviously interested in seeing the eclipse. But let's talk briefly about some of the eclipses that are going to happen in 2024. There'll be 5 eclipses, 2 of the sun and 3 of the moon. We begin on March the 24th with a penumbral lunar eclipse. What's that? I almost say don't waste your time on this one, and that's kind of ironic if Dr. Sky, who loves the sky like you do. A penumbral eclipse of the moon is the outer shadow of the Earth, barely distinguishable by the eye, but that will happen. We'll talk more about that for observers in the Western Hemisphere. April 8th, total solar eclipse, we just mentioned. But September the 17th, a partial lunar eclipse takes place. I will give you the details in future Dr. Sky experiences as to when and where that's visible on that date. October the 2nd, an annular solar eclipse on the other side of the world, or way off the coast of South America, not visible in the United States. And then a brief eclipse of the moon on October the 17th. But folks, in the year 2024, pay attention to the great supermoon of October the 16th. I know that seems a long way away. Just like we were talking about the eclipse back in October, the annular eclipse telling you that the April eclipse was a long way off. Now things are moving very rapidly as we move around the sun. This tiny little speck of solar driftwood called the Earth is rolling through space. And at the equator, did you know that we're turning about 1,000 miles per hour? And then if you were at the North Pole, that speed is almost reduced to 0 as you get right to that 0 area on the surface of the Earth. So how about this? If you were actually whatever weight you have, and you were standing at the North Pole, your weight is real. But because of centrifugal force and the Earth's gravity, if you're near the equator around the Earth, your weight is obviously going to be just a little bit less. I know that sounds crazy, so don't all rush to the equator, but it's due to celestial mechanics, the fight between gravity and acceleration and centrifugal force. Thought you'd like to know. To get in touch with me, it's simply this. Just email me at DrSkyShow, DRSKY show @gmail.com. What do we say and we mean it? Always remember to keep your eyes to the skies. And proud to be here on WABC, that's Talk Radio 77 WABC, every Sunday morning with John Katzimatidis and the Cats Roundtable, heard nationally and around the world. And also every other Wednesday at 1 a.m., we're on with Frank Morano, a great broadcaster, as you all know, with his Other Side of Midnight program. But he's kind enough to let us change the name, albeit temporary, on those Wednesday mornings at 1 a.m., twice a month, every other week, to call it Cosmic Conversations with me, Dr. Sky. Privileged and honored to be with this great radio station. And again, if you have any questions or comments, it's drsky@gmail.com. And what do we always say? We mean it. Always remember to keep your eyes to the skies, your feet on the ground. And simply, I'm your navigator on the highway to the heavens. Great things to happen in 2024. And once again, as a reminder, don't forget, shop now early to get your eclipse solar glasses, because this eclipse will be visible all over the nation. TSE17, that's the number, solareclipse.com, TSE17, solareclipse.com. In the order bar, type in DRSKY for a 10% discount. See you next week, and Happy New Year.